All right, family. I know that my guest, you'll see my guest and you're wondering what are we talking about. For many of you who are TikTok, I think TikTok Street, because somebody says TikTok Street.
I'm a TikTok Street.
Yeah,
Yes.
for those of you on TikTok Street, she's not a stranger. I remember when my wife told me about her for the very first time, I remember I was mad about something. And my wife was like, sweetie, say yes, there's this very particular lady I've seen and checked her out. So she sent 3 of your videos and stuff. So I'm like, South Africa, I say yes. I'm sorry, guys. No, me, I'm not generalizing, but I'm just saying how she got here. Because these days when you do media, you have to explain. I'm just saying how she got here. So I'm like, okay, South Africa. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And for me, it's not even just about the fact that you were talking South African stuff. It's the fact that your mind was so open to the point that you talk about history and you talk about other countries outside of South Africa. I'm like, this is not normal. I'm not used to this kind of narratives. I'm sorry, I'm being honest. I'm like, what? That's why immediately I send you a message and stuff to like, ladies, yes, how far? Can we meet? Can we do show and stuff? Because the truth of it is the fact that as much as, yes, I have met few South Africans that embody the African ideology that you and I would do and stuff, but I've also met majority. And like I was saying to you off air, I have invited people whereby they portray the African ideology, but when they now come and sit where you are sitting, it's a total different ballgame. So because of that, for me, when I saw your post and all of those things, there was a day I sat there, you would think I was doing an exam on your page.
Really?
I was just 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't even count how many. I know I sat there. I know too well that I sat there for 2 hours, 20 minutes, going all your content. I'm like, okay, officially, I now have somebody that I will bring. I was even saying to my wife, I said, maybe I'll even put an offer. Let's co-host this show together. So I'm not available. She's available. I believe on a narrative. Ladies and gentlemen, join me. Welcome, Samantha. She will explain herself properly and she will tell us who she is. Thank you for coming to the AfriOne show.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
I feel like asking, why did you choose to come to AfriOne show?
Do you know, strange enough, wait, why would you ask me that though?
I think I just felt. It's just a feeling.
It's like, does he know that I get the request for these things? I do.
Okay.
The reason I saw your show, obviously. And 2, I figured that we have a similar vision, right? And I've had invites for other like podcasts and stuff, but African unity and I'm going to say internal politics is not the same thing.
True.
And I think in terms of what it is that you do on your show is directed more towards what it is that I am looking to achieve with my content and with, I'm going to say Africa as a whole, you know? So I looked at it and I was like, yeah, he looks like we could have a nice conversation.
I look like, well, after today, we will know whether I look like it or maybe like
and you're Nigerian, and I always think Nigerians are so funny. I'm like, this is going to be an interesting conversation.
Like, how can a Nigerian be doing African stuff?
Nigerian and South African having a conversation about African unity. This is going to be an interesting conversation.
No, it's going to be interesting. That I know for sure. I was saying to myself, I'm like, okay, we'll argue. And so, guys, expect arguments. But just know that everything we're going to say on this very particular show has a disclaimer which you read before the show began. This is solely opinions of us.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with the narratives that is out there. We are not sponsored by anybody, no government or NGO that is literally backing us up. It's just us sharing our own African ideology and whatever you can think. It's your right.
100%.
Yeah.
We will not argue. We will debate.
Thank you. You see that, Renee? That's a serious one.
That is a debate. That is not an argument.
That's not an argument. And so after today, don't think that we fight. We're not fighting. Just the fact that his ideology is we're trying to just bounce off and all of those things. If I were to ask you as we begin the very particular show, in 1 minute, who is Samantha?
Samantha. Who is Samantha? Samantha is Actually, I always, when people ask me about it, the one thing I always say is that I'm very kind.
Okay.
That's the first thing that I would describe about myself, because I genuinely believe that it's one of the reasons why my love for Africa is the way that it is, because I am able to look at the African child and see myself in this African child and sympathize with the African child, So Samantha is a very sarcastic...
Check her TikTok, you understand.
Yes, kind-hearted, straight-talking, Pan-Africanist. Samantha believes in African unity.
Okay.
Samantha is an entrepreneur who's currently working on a project called the African Academy of African Minds.
Africa, can you?
The African Academy of African Minds.
African Academy of African Minds.
Yes.
How did you get there?
So I was looking at, there's a massive demand when you said African history, right?
Okay.
I do love African history.
No, you do.
I do. And I do also know that Africans do not know their history.
Yeah, true.
Which means the idea of their own existence is very tainted.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I would like to tell the African story through the African minds. That's what I want to do.
Oh.
That's what I'd like to do. And we've started with 5 modules, of which one of it is Code of Conduct, African Philosophy, African History. Code of Conduct is important. It's very important, sorry. Code of Conduct is important for African unity because it ensures that Africans understand that I need to support my own first before I take it to Gucci. Before I take it to Chanel.
When you say you need to support your own, who is your own? Are you talking your own of South Africa or your own as Africans? Okay.
Africans. You cannot have a population of 1.4 billion.
True.
And not say that Africa cannot create more billionaires and millionaires.
I hear you.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
So that is what the African Academy is looking to achieve.
Oh, okay.
I'm a law student. I'm almost done, guys. Final year law.
So as you are doing your law, you protect us Africans in South Africa. So,
Yes.
if you don't, I'll bring this video and I'll say, Samantha says, you are in my show. This is what you said. So that's the thing then.
Yes.
So how the academy, what actually gave birth to the academy? Because I need to understand, why did you decide to bring that up? You could be doing anything or focus on your law.
Yes.
Or why the academy?
Because through my content creation journey, I've realized that there's a massive demand for African teachings to Africans in the diaspora.
Okay.
And it's going to come from Africans creating a structure and a system that allows us to do that. And you must remember, the academy is not just the academy. There's a whole plan. There's a 1-year plan, there's a 2-year plan, there's a 3-year plan, there's a 4-year plan.
That's a school.
There's a 5-year plan.
Okay, that's PhD.
Exactly. Of which in a few years' time, we can get to a point where I can say to you, Darlington, we are having the African Academy of African Minds Summit for technology. And it will be Africans only.
I see.
Collaborating amongst Africans.
I think it just sounded like, we're not there for us as AfriOne show.
Yes.
It just sounded like, because AfriOne literally is actually called the AfriOne Network.
Yes.
And so, but it's just the fact that this one is AfriOne show and stuff. And with the other stuff I said about AfriOne, that's no good day because it's not a platform. but it's a good one. And I look forward in terms of when you need me to be on that very particular space, please let me know. How do you find yourself into these African dialogues or African narratives that you now embodied thus far?
When I discovered that what I considered to be my identity in a country like South Africa was not necessarily my own identity, but a racial classification that has been imposed on me that I embodied for the longest time.
Wow. Now go deeper. This should just get deeper in 1 second now. Okay, I'm listening.
That's where it came from. Because people, and I think that's where a lot of people are so shocked, like you said when you saw my video. It's a South African, but it's a South African colored woman that is speaking the way she is, right? Why? And if you had spoken to Samantha 10 years ago, right? And we had the conversation about the colored South Africa, etc., I would have fought you for the colored racial classification, not the culture.
I hear you.
Not the culture. And obviously, 10 years ago, what I've learned within that time to where I am now, I've learned a lot of things about South Africa, about my history, about my people, where we come from, where we came about. And then I realized that this racial classification, one, did not exist, right? But it does not take away from what was created within the colored communities and who the colored community has become. And a part of that is acknowledging our Africanicity. Yeah.
So if because I want to stay on the colored community narratives that you were saying that it was not there before, it was just construct.
Yes.
When you begin to find out and you begin to dig a research around the so-called, permit me to use the word, the so-called colored community and what did you discover that made you understand that, okay, fine, I'm not just a color because I was classified, I'm an African?
You know, ignorance is bliss. And they say ignorance is bliss. It really is. It really is. When I found out that the colored racial classification is not a race. It's not a race. It was a classification. There's no DNA for the colored person. There's no DNA.
I hear you.
It was a group of white supremacists who sat around the table and said, how do we ensure that we keep South Africans divided? You know, so how about we have this specific group that is of mixed descent, which we've created, mind you, and make them feel a specific way, right? Because why would they add to an already majority black population?
I hear you.
Because they were the minority.
I hear you.
So if they take the colored population and they added them as black in America, because remember, in America, the one-drop rule worked. They needed more slaves. In South Africa, they did not need more black people.
True.
So if they added to that, it would have been to the detriment of
them.
Yeah. You know, so that's when I learned about it. And I was like, but it is 100% a culture. It is 100% a culture that is an amalgamation of the different African tribes that we come from. And I think that's why the conversation of the colored people is such a difficult conversation.
No, it's a very difficult one.
It's a very difficult conversation. Number one, it's not only in South Africa. It is in Namibia. It's in SADC. It's Namibia. It's Zimbabwe. It's Zambia. They have colored people, right? But also, we have different lineages, right? There's certain things that we have commonalities too. But my lineage is different to those in Cape Town.
Okay.
And their lineage will be different to those in Limpopo, right? So that's why I always say that I found it so interesting because I'm from the Northwest, right?
Oh, you're Northwest.
I'm from the Northwest. I am. I am not Cape Townian.
Even I'm already thinking Cape Town.
You did. Everyone thinks that.
You remember when I sent the invite, I'm like, okay, are you in Joburg? You remember my question?
Everyone asked me that.
Are you in Joburg? You're like, yes. I'm like, okay, at least that's 50%. Now let's navigate from there.
I got a request, and I'm not going to mention his name for a podcast, right? And he was like, we will come to you in Cape Town. I'm like, I'm not in Cape Town. But I appreciate the fact that you would have, But not all colored people are from Cape Town.
At least now this is good now. Northwest. So can we just do update now on our knowing?
I'm from the Northwest. I'm from Promosa Potchefstroom in the Northwest, right? And what I found in the Northwest in terms of the colored community there and the colored community in Johannesburg is that the Northwest colored people have found a way to integrate with the black communities, and we were never able to differentiate between who was black and colored. We just thought we were all the same people. Right?
Which is good.
Which is great, right? So when I came to Joburg, there was a clear distinction.
Wow.
And they were very adamant about...
You've been colored.
Yes. But you are colored. And I'm like, I am, but why is there separation? Such a clear separation, right? But it's also where I was when I came to Joburg. Now, and you should know, Joburg North is very different to Joburg South.
True.
And Joburg West is very different from Joburg East. It is
different mindset, different thought, different ideology on all of that 4 points that you've just said.
100%. And Joburg North is very much the whole of Africa combined. Where we are trying to find a way to coexist.
For me, I call Joburg North the hustling center of South Africa.
100%. Joburg North is like the New York of Africa.
I hear you.
You can find any person from any racial group and any nationality in Joburg, literally.
So for you, because I think because of AfriOne show and most of the diverse multicultural audience in which we have, if you are to look back to the history of the coloreds, and obviously, yes, you guys are here in Africa and stuff, but what did you discover about your colored people? And sometimes I get confused, and so you pardon me. I get confused between colored and the coisance.
Yes.
Yeah, I do. That's my weakness. And so sometimes my wife would be like, so sometimes if I want to ask my wife some certain things about color, my wife would be like, so I have some pastors friends who should be like, Pastor X is colored,
right?
And Pastor Y is coisance. No, okay, then I'm like, okay, so the other person I was talking to, he's colored. Right. So that's how she helped me to differentiate it. I am not from South Africa, but I'm an African. So case closed. So when you look at your history, how did you guys get to the point, for example, for you here, South Africa, how did you guys get to the point where you now discover, okay, if we're from South Africa, we are here in South Africa, but this is where we come from? Have you been able to do your research and to find out where we come from? I've heard some people say the colored community, they are from Somebody once said to me that they're from Zimbabwe. The other one once said to me that no, they are from, what's it called? One was like, they migrated from Ghana. And I'm like, okay, me, I don't know this research, but that's interesting. I'll ask the people who are there. So they will not tell me how they find themselves and if they are literally rooted from South Africa, but maybe apartheid now decide to do the segregation and all of those things. From what you have gathered, how did you guys come here so that you help me conscientize your people and conscientize the AfriOne community? They're like, this is who we are. We didn't migrate from Belgium. Neither did we come from Australia. We're literally from here.
I like how there's a group of us that were in a specific location and we kind of found ourselves here.
Here in South Africa, yeah.
No, the colored population is a product of colonialism. It is a product of the interracial and it's a very painful history of the colored community because we are a result of colonialism, we are a result of murder, we are a result of rape. That's the colored community. Now, does that apply to all coloreds? Obviously not, because not all our grandmothers involuntarily slept with, but we do know that majority of them was. We know that a lot of the colonizers that came into Africa did that to our grandmothers, right?
True.
I remember I watched this guy was on the news and he was Khoisan, right? And he spoke about the Khoisan people and he was very focused on the fact that they do not want to be classified as colored. And I think that's why there's always an argument about the colored. And he was like, because we were never colored. You gave us that classification because they are not colored, but they are classified colored because they look a specific way, right? And he spoke about that. But then he said, what you guys don't know about the Khoisan is that the Khoisan fought the colonizers first because they were at the tip of the Cape of Good Hope.
True.
So they encountered the Khoisan people first, which means that they were the ones, like you look at the story of Krotoa. I don't know if you know the story of Krotoa, It tells you the story of how there was an integration, how they got here, etc.
Yeah.
And obviously, because of over generations, there has been, what do you call it, when people just continuously populate. Over generations.
Before you know what is going on, you're like, okay, that's a whole community.
Exactly. And now here we are. So when they say that the colored community is generations of interracial people, which is true, because they were separated initially to create the colored community.
I see.
And then amongst themselves, they were able to procreate.
To procreate and populate.
Exactly. So that is why the colored community of South Africa have the most diverse genetic makeup in the world. Did you know that?
Serious?
Yes.
Wow.
The most diverse genetic makeup in the world.
I think funny enough, because my wife is from Grahamstown, and I remember she said to me when we went to during holiday period, we were there. And she's like, no, as you're driving, please don't go to colored community. I'm like,
why?
Colored community in Grahamstown. Yes. No, I think the thing there for me, it was because obviously at that very particular place, she knows the community better than I do, and I'm just a visitor there. And so, because when I go to places, I just want to drive and just want to see everything and cool. And she's like, then my question to her, and I looked at my mother-in-law, I'm like, Mama says, colored community in Grahamstown. This is Xhosa environment. What is color doing here? Because remember that in my head, this place should just be 100% Xhosa people. I was just like, no, like we have a whole bunch of community. And my wife took me to a particular place and he said, you see that side there? So yes, it's colored community. Trust me. I know she's hearing for the first time. I drove there.
Really?
I'm like, I want to see.
Wait, she's hearing it through the show right now.
No, she's hearing through the door because I know she's somewhere within this place. Yeah. So I drove there and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So coloreds are here. Because in my head, the moment it's Grahamstown, these are Xhosa people.
Yes.
What are they doing here? So I think I'm beginning to agree with the statement where you say colored community are the most diverse people in the world. In South Africa, like you say. Yes. And that's interesting. When you guys go out, especially your colored community, how do you guys get received?
I think it's different.
Okay.
It's very different because we look different. And also remember when I said the colored community is generational, is that even though there was a procreation of multiple cultures and races within the colored community over a specific period of generation, there was also a need for people that were not necessarily classified colored during apartheid, or would have if they looked colored, change their surnames, right? So that's why when you go to like the Eastern Cape, you will find people whose surname will be like Witboy or Yankees, but they're Xhosa, but they look colored because of the hierarchy of the apartheid structure.
That is...
Exactly.
For more information, guys, you can check her page. She will do all those hierarchy there. Yeah, we just want to have an intro level of the conversation so that we balance. Okay.
Do you understand? So it's not as easy as me just saying colored people are generational mixed race people. No, they are also colored people. And that is why people will say, I'm a black colored person because I look more black. And then when you dig into the history, you will find that the grandfather or grandmother decided to change their name because they look closer to colored, right? And it was going to be convenient for the apartheid system.
I think now and again that get me confused, and I'm happy I'm having these conversations and stuff. Sometimes I think because I learn every day. I tell people, I say every day I wake up, I want to learn something. One of the things also that get me confused is when I see blacks like my kind, and they say they are colored. I'm like, then I look at my baby and say, people are confusing me daily. Nick. Can you make this confusion end? Like, I don't understand. This black man, he says he's colored. What's going on? So, and for her, she would just laugh because I'm like, no, but maybe calm down. I know that colored, they say they're light in complexion. This one, I'm seeing this one look like a Nigerian guy. He's telling me he's colored. What's his problem? So it's when the person now talk, I'm like, okay, I hear the accent and stuff, but I don't understand. Is it that they were doing population census and you were in a colored community and they count you that day? And so
no, it's a very complicated history.
No, it's a complicated. I think from the way you were saying it now, it's like, okay, for those of you who want to find out more about the colored community, you can inbox her on a social media platform.
No, do not.
Or probably because I just wanted to wet the conversations because as we go on break and we come back, we will now go deeper on the talks of why she's here and stuff. You can inbox her. You can find her on a social media platform. And in case if you want to get to know more about the colored community and all the coisans and all of those things and you can send the email right now on the screen and I'll help you facilitate the conversation. She's a celebrity, so chances are you may not get her.
He says a lot of things, this man. I'm not a celebrity.
She's a celebrity.
I am.
Guys, go and check her social media for you to see what is going on. This woman can provoke conversation. In my mind, I'm thinking, I'm like, in you been doing your talks and stuff, have there been a point where, I don't want to say my own part, but let me use your own. Have there been a point where you get threat conversations?
Oh, 100%.
Serious?
Of course.
Okay, it's interesting. How did you take that? Knowing to that you're telling your story and all of a sudden people are threatening you?
I genuinely don't take note of it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Well done to you, if you feel you have that power. But it's mostly white South Africans, white Afrikaner South Africans.
Wow.
It's not, there's no other race that I can think of that I've ever, maybe colored people, colored people, right? Because I remember the one day when I said, I think the colored community, if we are able to classify ourselves as a tribe in South Africa, it will be easy for us to explain ourselves. It becomes a lot complicated because it is. We are a tribe. Do you understand? So,
is this something that is currently being discussed, or you people just ignore and move on with your life?
No, people, because obviously a lot of people, and I know, like I remember my cousin said that once.
Yeah.
She said to me, "No, but I'm colored by a race," and I said, "No, you're not." And she was like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "There's no DNA for colored, And she was young, and when I explained it to her, she was like, "I didn't know that," But obviously, there's a lot of places in South Africa where in the colored community, if you tell people that, they'll be very offended. Because it's almost like you're attacking their identity, but you're not. And I was one of those people. That's why I said to you, over a 10-year period, maybe longer, I've had to intentionally unlearn a lot of what I thought was a part of me, which wasn't, right? And I cannot impose my thinking or the knowledge that I've acquired over a specific period of time on other people.
True,
it's on them.
True.
I can only but give you the information and you can do with it whatever it is that you like, right?
I'm tempted to throw this to you now. And because it's something I want to discuss on the next segments, but I just want to throw it now so I don't forget. You talked about something that has to do with you consciously renewing your mind to become. When you look at us currently here in Africa, in our continent where we are, let's start from South Africa. Obviously, you are here and you have your right for you to say whatever you want to say. I also have my right in terms of, like I said, the mirror part. Me, I stay as the mirror. Guys, if you want to know the mirror, it's just the fact that you can't rewind it. I said it before the camera starts. What is one of the biggest challenge when we look at us as Africans in terms of renewing our mind to understand that we're just one?
Wow.
Welcome to AfriOne show.
That is a very deep question. And you know why?
Yeah.
And I think that's why the conversation of African unity is always such a complicated conversation.
All right.
And let me explain. You Nigerian, right?
100%.
How many tribes are in Nigeria?
Over 400.
How many languages are in Nigeria?
That's a lot. I'm trying to count now. Over 700.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got it's apparently 300 plus minus tribes, over 700 languages, located in 36 states.
36 of Nigeria.
States, right? Yeah. How are you going to tell Nigerians that you are trying to create a system where we will all identify as one?
I think now I remember that she's a show host also. So clearly look as if the two of us were going to be asking ourselves questions, which is okay. Complicated, I hear you. But don't you think that and I'm happy that the both of us we show host and stuff, and so don't you think that there should be a system that seek to unify under one narratives that we all can then be able to imbibe and to drive that African unity?
100%. And I think that is where, when we have the conversation around African unity, we need to, one, not be dismissive of all the African countries and their histories, because it will definitely play a part in how they assume this African unity to look like, right?
Okay.
But we also, myself as a Pan-Africanist and you as a Pan-Africanist, need to be clear on what our ideology is. What are we both looking to achieve with this African unity? Do we have a development plan for this African unity? Where does it start? Because it's easy to have the conversation. But if there's no plan, we're going to have this conversation 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
100%.
Right?
Agreed.
Where we're looking for Pan-Africanism, but there's no clear plan of how we are looking to approach it. That's why you look at an organization like the AU and you're asking yourself, what are they doing?
Yeah, no, that question, let's not just go that part. Otherwise, I'll just start crying now.
But do you understand? What have they done? It's something as basic as an AU passport. Why is it that Africans in the diaspora that have found themselves in locations that they did not ask for have to struggle to come into Africa just to see where their ancestors are from? But yet there's an institution or an organization like the African Union.
So when you look, when I like the thing where you talked about the whole concept of having what you call a blueprint or a plan for us to be able, thus far, from what you have gathered and based as a show host and you run your own narratives and stuff, do you think that our current leaders are creating the narratives that enforces a blueprint for us to have, or that is still somewhere in the air, only God knows where to come?
I definitely don't think so. I think you have leaders that will speak about African unity, right? And they will speak about it when it's convenient to that specific conversation, but not necessarily when it is implemented. So implementation is key. And that's why I'm saying to you, if we do not have a structure, if myself and you as Darlington cannot come together as a collective and say, where do we start to obtain this African unity? We will forever have this conversation.
Family, on that very particular note, we'll go take some water, some coffee and stuff, because it's about to get heated on this very particular second segment where we're talking all things Africa. And please watch out also for the third segment where it's going to be all things leadership. And because I know that with her, I have followed her narratives and I've seen how strong she is currently when it comes to her, what's it called, African ideology, which she portrays. And I'm very honest, she's way, and you know me, I don't hide, she's way advanced than me. Hashtag just saying. I know she's looking, because sometimes when I go to her page and I see her busy, the other day I was looking at you busy arguing with Palestine's Germany, the Herero tribe. I'm like, hey, this woman, calm down, we have problem here in Africa. We have 54. You're already crossing the continent. So that's why I say she's more advanced than me. So if you want to know what is happening in what's it called, Israel, Japan, and all those things, and it's fine. Follow her on her page. Her social handle is on the screen currently now, so take advantage of it and just make sure you follow her and all those things. I promise you, it's going to be an eye-opening conversation for me. That one day that my wife sent me the link, and here she's sitting. We'll be right back after this break. Don't go anywhere.
In order for me to find a solution, I need to understand the root cause of the problem.
Yeah.
In order for me to find a solution.
Okay.
And as I see the problem right now, we at a phase of decolonizing the African mind. And we can only do that if we explain where the colonization of the African mind started, right? For Namibians, it was Germany. for South Africans, it's the British and the Netherlands. Nigerians, it's the British, right? That is a very important conversation to have, because we need to dismantle that system and structures that have given us a Western mindset.
But yet, I hear where you're coming from. But if you look at it, welcome to part 2. If you look at it, she's laughing. That's how I do my show. If you look at it, I appreciate the fact that yes, the root cause. But let's be honest, Samantha. The both of us are, for lack of a better, let's use the word, we're journalists. Let's be honest, Samantha. South Africa, 30 years. Nigeria, more than 60 years. Namibia, currently, now, if I'm not mistaken, they're going for 34 years, if I'm not mistaken. 34, 33, somewhere. I choose to be corrected, family, please. It is black that is ruling. We understand, if you at this very particular point, for example, let me imagine that you're in Nigeria, 64 years. I don't think you are 64 right now in terms of age. Let's say you are in Nigeria. The country got independent. We are sitting at 64 years, because I like using Nigeria as a scapegoat, because for you, South Africa, now you come and attack me. Let me be smart.
But also, South Africa is like in preschool when it comes to democracy.
Yeah.
So you have to use like a country like Nigeria or Ghana.
Exactly. So if you look at it, because for me, I want us to get into a place where we try as much as possible to reduce the blame on the West and begin to own up. Nigeria currently now, we have a president who is known as Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who came into power simply because he feel that it is his turn. Literally. If you ask me what is his narrative, I don't know. I have tried to look for, I can't find one. In less than 3 months or 6 months, if I'm not mistaken, being there, dollar's exchange rate to Nigerian naira has doubled. I'm honest. I have family back home that I support. It has doubled. I remember $1 to Nigerian naira then, if I'm not mistaken, was about 600, 650. Currently now it's 1,500. Wow. In this leadership.
How are Nigerians surviving?
Thank you. Now, when you look at that very particular stuff, we got independent in 1960. Blacks has been ruling in Nigeria. Do you want me to still believe that I will throw the blame on the British who colonized Nigeria, or the people who are currently ruling, refusing to literally understand that, Brad, the narrative must change, and it depends on you who is sitting there as a leader? Because that's the same thing. If we carry the conversation from that aspect, bring it to Nigeria, bring it to South Africa, take it down to Namibia and co. I think we'll begin to hold our leaders responsible for what they are doing. Like what we're saying behind the scene concerning the late H. Geingob and stuff. You've been the president.
What have you done?
What can we say? So how then do we begin now to diffuse, I don't want to use the word diffuse, because look as if I'm quenching the narrative of what these guys have done. And the truth of it, family, hear me, they've done bad. But they've given us independence.
Yes.
Yes, they have system they've put in place that is still making us indebted to them. But we're ruling for the past 30 years, for the past 40 years. And yet our mindsets are not changing. What do you think from your own standpoint as a journalist, and also with the content in which you produce, that is keeping our African leaders not to pursue the narrative of African unity?
So when you look at Nigeria, and I mean, I don't know, I'm going to say Nigerian politics to the extent that you do.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But I do know that Nigeria is not, I'm going to say, under colonial rule still.
No, we're not. We killed it from 1960 on its own.
Exactly. So if you were to say, is neo-colonialism playing a role in Nigeria? Probably not, right? And that will probably explain why it is that Nigeria has so many billionaires. Right? Nigeria has very wealthy people. But then you look at the development of Nigeria over a specific period of time, considering that your country is over 60 years old, what has been achieved, right? And I remember I had this conversation with a friend of mine. He is Nigerian and he's a lawyer, right? Also in politics now, he's and we had the conversation about the difference between South Africa and Nigeria. And he said, South Africa is 80% private sector. And the 80% of the private sector is also the very same 80% that comes from Apartheid, right? So they have that control over the masses. Because where does employment come from? From them, Where with Nigeria, it comes from government. And that is where Nigeria and corruption is such a big thing, right? And I didn't really understand it. And I remember I went to read up about it. And you read into the different states and amounts of money that went missing, this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, I get that. But now here's the thing. If Nigeria, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? If Nigeria is majority government owned, then who should hold them accountable? Because South Africans, we need to hold the private sector accountable. Yes, government 100%, right? And I think of all Africans, we can all say that South Africans are not exactly a nation that keeps quiet. Okay. There's always a protest somewhere for something, right? So at which point do we say the people need to start speaking up? Because as Africans, we do not understand the power of numbers. We don't. And that is why public servants...
Nigeria do. Power of numbers has played a huge role for us as Nigerians. Yeah. Because we understand that we have the numbers, 220 million plus. That's not a joke. And so we've monetized that when it comes to our business. And I want to go back a bit to conversations where you said you and this Nigeria were having this conversation and it says Nigeria is government controlled more. Yeah. I'm saying that because I choose to differ a bit with that because of the narratives in which I'm exposed to. Like I said to you, I'm from a military background. Right. And when Nigeria, the military hand over whatever to the civilians and stuff. Obviously, the military have put their own system on ground that makes it look as if the military is still in control, but somehow I still believe so because the guys who are playing politics in Nigeria, they still find a way of, for lack of a better word, bribing the military to still make sure that their civilian rule does not get intercepted. But when we look at it in terms of the Nigerian ecosystem literally is controlled not private sectors who are big shot, but literally individuals who are driving the narratives. But the only thing that the Nigerian government is doing is to bring policies and system that is affecting, for lack of a better word, economic growth in Nigeria. For instance, look at the whole issue of the dollar that is currently happening in Nigeria, which is affecting business. Now, an average Nigeria, that's why, for example, when you find us everywhere, an average Nigeria, we are entrepreneurs in our thinking. 100%. We go to a particular place because our system does not permit us to depend on government. The first time I hear grant was in South Africa. I'm honest, my hand is up. I was shocked. I'm like, grant, what does that mean? I had to go to Google to check first, then they explain. I'm saying this because if the government of Nigeria controls literally more of the narratives and stuff, yes, you can say some of the sectors, they have influence. For example, sectors,
not the people.
Yeah.
And I think this is where maybe there's a bit of a confusion. And that is probably why it is that Nigerians are such business-minded people. Because government controls most of your sectors, right? People are and they're not doing their job. It leaves the average Nigerian having to find a different way to go about it, which is business.
Okay.
And that is why maybe Nigerians are so business-minded. It's also probably why you can go into any country and ask for Nigerian community and they'll point you to a Nigerian community.
You'll find it. You'll find it.
You will find the Nigerian community in any country in the world. You will find the Nigerian community. Because you have a government that has failed the people, you've had to find a different approach. Now, over a 60-year period, you cannot say that Nigerians have realized the government and the system, whether ruled by them, is not benefiting us. So we need to find a different mentality and a different approach. And that approach was what? You migrate. And that is why you find Nigerians in so many different countries. And that is why you find Nigerians running businesses. And their approach to life is, if I leave Nigeria, wherever I'm going, I am going to make the best of that situation. And I think that's a general mindset for most people. There's no way I'm going to leave South Africa to move to a different country and not try and make a better life for myself. But I'm only going to move if my situation is so dire that I am forced to go somewhere else and hope that I can achieve a better life for myself.
So now, if we take the conversation back a bit, do we still, because I like the fact that we're talking Nigeria, which is fine, which is a safe place for me, because somehow when I talk South Africa, I get attacked. Yo, Shem, somebody has even threatened me. Somebody has even threatened me that you're going to come and burn my studio. I say, good luck, try search for it.
What did you say about South Africa, though?
Is that?
What did you say?
Funny enough, it's not even me, it's my guests who are South Africans, who talk about the South Africans. And so somehow, they end up concluding that, no, because I'm in Nigeria, for strange reason, I do drugs and all of those things, and I pay my guests to talk against South Africa. Samantha is here. I don't know if I paid her, so maybe she has to let us know.
Maybe there's a check coming after this, but until now, I haven't seen or heard about this.
So there is this narrative out there that Darlington pays his guest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I don't know that I'm that rich, because sometimes, when you hear those narratives on Korea, you're like, okay, you want to go check your account balance. Like, okay, how did I get there? But in terms of the reason why I want us to go back a bit, because I want this conversation, especially on this second segment, whereby we become responsible for the things that is happening with us. And I need you and I to be able to, from our own standpoint of our opinions and everything, which you own 100%, I own my 100%, Are leaders currently in Africa that we see, because I know I wanted to do that in part 3, but it's fine, we'll do it now. Are leaders currently in Africa that we see, do you think that they are still under-influenced?
100%.
And if you say so, why do you think so?
The American government just passed a bill against the ANC for not complying to the terms that they had with the ANC government.
I don't understand. Repeat it slowly. You're fast.
So there was a bill, right, that the American government passed, I think, during this week or last week, against the ANC government, right, where they need to relook
Let me close laptop
the deliverables from the ANC government, right? Because they were taken to the ICJ by the South African government, which goes against what it is that the agreement is. Now, what was the agreement?
What's that?
Do you understand? What was the agreement? For a country to be able to, one, it's like the British. Why is the British discussing ESCOM?
Okay, I hear you.
What right do you have to discuss ESCOM? Do you understand? It makes no sense. What right does the Americans have to pass a bill against the ANC? And what promise was made if there was no control? And it can't possibly only be the ANC. It has to be a lot of political parties across the African continent. Across the African continent. That's why when we speak about neo-colonialism, it is 100% a thing. 100% a thing. How does one individual say that if you do not do the following, I am going to collapse the rand tomorrow, and they do so successfully?
And they do it successfully.
How?
Okay, I agree, which means from what you're saying that, yes, it is still being controlled by these guys.
But does that dismiss any accountability from the government? 100% not.
No, that's where I'm going.
It definitely doesn't. And I think that is where South Africans are right now. South Africans are tired.
Serious?
South Africans are 100% tired. And if the current government do not see, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the next elections, but I am going to tell you that they're going to get a shock of their lives.
The ruling party?
The ruling party. They will get a shock because promises were made and it was not delivered accordingly, right? Now, granted, you can have plans and it might not pan out accordingly. Not always. But if you are dismissive to the very people that put you in power and you are not transparent to the very people that put you in power in such a very young democracy, to a people that remembers going to the voting ballot to vote for you based on the promises made, do you really think that they will not hold you accountable?
They should, and they will. 100,
because they are still there. Do you understand? So that is where we are at right now. We are at a point where we have a 30-year democracy, which let's call it 25 years. Always say, let's say 25 years.
Because the first 5 years we were still trying to know what to do when it was given to us.
Clause. Remember, there was a sunset clause in our constitution.
I hear
right?
You. Oh, okay.
So there was a sunset clause in the constitution which allowed for white businesses over, I think, a 5-year period to transition into the new democracy, right? Which means that is where the National Party at that time with the ANC formed the coalition government so that they can accordingly. It did not play out like that, right? So I don't think the people as you can't say over a 30-year period nothing has been achieved. You can't. It would be unfair to say that. You are speaking to a population that at the beginning of our democracy, 98% of South Africa's white population had electricity, 80% of our black population had no electricity, right? You are speaking about a population where how many South Africans did not have water? Black South Africans. How many did not have roads? How many were living in shacks, right? They now do have houses. Not all of them, right? They now do have water. They now do have electricity. And that is why when they say South Africa is the most unequal country in the world, it's for that reason. So there's a group of people that will sing the praises of the ruling party because they will see that maybe it has been delivered on their part. Because if I started in this democracy and I did not have a house, but I now have a house, I am happy. If I started and I didn't have electricity and I have electricity, I'm happy. If I did not get a grant and I now have a grant, I'm happy. But those people have had children and their children have gotten into a system that they've seen. There's clear. You look, the systemic structures in this country is very clear it's built up against the Black South Africans.
So if I have to ask you directly, the system of this country, who controls it?
The systems of this country, who controls it? Have you heard of this?
I know why I'm asking the question. I know that it's not.
So,
and I'm going to be very blunt in terms of asking the question.
Yes.
White, blacks, who?
White. White South Africans.
White South Africans.
White South Africans. White South Africans control the systems in South Africa, and that is why, for them, it's very uncomfortable to say that it's for them. It's 30 years. It's 30 years. How have you guys not done anything in 30 years? What are they comparing that 30 years to? To what the standard of living was during apartheid. That's what they're comparing it to.
So who is making this complaint? The white?
White South Africans.
Okay.
They are not comparing it to what Black South Africans look like.
Okay.
So what happened in a 30-year period for Black South Africans? Something has been achieved. However, a lot has been lost. A lot of corruption has been dismissed. A lot of the people's problems have been laughed at. There has been no accountability, nor any form of transparency to the people of South Africa.
In terms of equality, based on the powers been given, I use the word political power being given to South Africa, on South African blacks and stuff, do you think that South Africa at this very particular junction, it's equal compared to when it was handed over to them?
No.
Why do you say so?
Equality?
Yeah.
Equality should equate to equity.
All right.
So if
Give me numbers.
So if you are saying that 80% of the private sector is white owned, that's equity.
Okay.
If you are saying that 70% of the country's land is white owned, that's equity. Land equates to wealth.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the conversation about land expropriation is such a
big deal.
Exactly. Because they understand that when the African has the land, that equates to wealth. It's a conversation that they do not want to have.
When you say they do not, I'm trying to understand who are these
white South Africans do not want, not all white South Africans.
Yeah, I hear you.
Do not want to have that conversation, especially the born-frees, which makes sense. Because for them,
the born-free white or the born-free blacks?
In all across. Like you have conversations with even the youth, I'm going to say colored, black, and for
I think at the moment now, let's just say Africa, what's it called?
Yeah.
Everyone. And so it's easy.
For them, it's like, why are you guys still harping on the whole apartheid thing, etc., etc.? Because they were only born into a democracy, right? But that democracy does not reflect any form of promise for everyone.
So are you saying that the born-frees in quote, they are divorcing themselves from the reality of what happened during apartheid and they're seeking for something different?
Because for them, they can only hold you responsible from what it is that they perceive. And all they know is there's potholes, there's load shedding. Our schooling system is not running properly, right? So that is what they holding the government to. Where with our parents, they're holding them to, they promised us houses. They promised us sanitation. We now have electricity. So it's a different conversation, right?
Okay.
And I always tell people where a lot of governments across the African continent and even the West have failed to see Africans coming is that there's multiple things happening simultaneously
with Africans, true?
With Africans.
Yeah.
So you are not speaking to the same African that you spoke to 50 years ago.
50 years ago, 100% agreed.
You're not.
Yeah.
The same way when you have a conversation with my mother, you will have a different response as a conversation with me. When you have a conversation with someone that is Gen Z, you're going to have a different response. Because our experience in South Africa has been a different experience. And our promise from the democracy and expectations is a different promise, right? So I would have monitored South Africa over a specific period of time and say, okay, realistically speaking, I cannot dismiss a complete 30 years and say it was a complete failed 30 years, right?
Because I hear what you say.
Because there has been certain things achieved. But from a Gen Z point of view and as a millennial point of view, will I say that the ruling party have failed? Of course. How is that even a debate?
Do you from what you gathered thus far, Gen Z, millennial, sometimes I get confused on those two numbers. I'm trying to rephrase it in such a way, but at least sometimes I get to tell myself that, okay, fine, remove your mind from being Mother Teresa and stay in the Bill Gates world. Because sometimes I get a conflict. Do you, from what you've gathered, Gen Z and the millennial, the system of South Africa currently, and this is me talking about now the black rule, because obviously the president is black at the moment. as the president or probably the system of political, are they involving these Gen Zs in their narratives or these millennials in their narratives or this very particular two? They are two different world apart and they don't understand.
Well, I think it will definitely play a part in how it is that they perceive governance. Is it not because they will judge their current lived experience in South Africa based on the ruling party? So if my school looks like this, who do I hold accountable for that? My government, right? So it's perception. So for them, they will not necessarily think that maybe neocolonialism is playing a role in where South Africa is at, right? Mm-hmm. They would not say maybe apartheid plays a role in why it is that a specific racial group responds to me a specific way. Because we need to understand that if South Africa is 30 years old, right? And the average lifespan is 80. How many white South Africans are there that came from apartheid with that mindset, that need to unlearn that mindset?
I hear you. All right, family. I think because of my time and stuff, but I want to try conversations with him before we go on a break. When we look at us as Africans in South Africa at the moment, do you think we embody the spirit of collaborations, or because of the political spectrums and things that are happening, that concept is still far-fetched?
I don't think it's far-fetched, though. I don't think it's far-fetched. I do, however, think that South Africa as a country, right, whether or not we have an idea, myself and you, in terms of how we would like Africa to look like. There is still independent states that need to attend to the internal affairs, right? The same way you said, Nigeria is now 60-something years old. Have they failed us? South Africa is now 30 years old. Have they failed us, right? So until they are able to clean out their own houses, how are they going to clean out the other houses? Do you understand?
So now there's still internal cleaning that needs to happen before we begin to talk of external collaborations.
And I don't know. I think collaborations can happen simultaneously. It can. But is there proper structures put in place to ensure that it happens?
When you talk about proper structure,
when you look at the Pan-African Parliament, what do?
You can tell me more about it, because sometimes I get confused about those guys. You know, Pan-African Parliament, which is the one in Galaga.
Yeah.
Then there is African Union, and obviously Nigeria is ECOWAS, South Africa is SADC. Sometimes when I look at these very particular blocks, I ask myself, what are they doing? The same question I'm throwing to you. With all of these blocks that is in place, do they foster collaboration, or somewhere behind the scene, they are also enhancing the separation that we're experiencing in Africa?
I think money and greed plays a big role.
How?
It plays a big role because there's an idea of what it is that the African Union is supposed to do, right? There's money that goes to the African Union, right, from different organizations. But now, how long has the African Union been around for?
Well, we asked the question about the money. Where is the money coming from to African Union?
It's like the same. I asked the question a few days ago, and I was saying there was a video that I saw, and I'm deflecting right now, about, I saw a video of Joe Rogan that said that Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation, have made so much money during the pandemic, right? And now this is the very same man, apparently, I haven't seen it, who's now speaking up against the vaccine, but he was also a spokesperson for the vaccine, right? So I remember I asked the question and I was like, wait, I'm a bit confused. Why is it that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have never been investigated, right? Because they fund the very same institutions that needs to investigate them.
Oh, Africa have problems. That's why you don't be like, wahala.
No wahala.
It's a serious wahala, like, oh my God. So which means for us to begin to bring this very particular second segment narrative to a close, African leaders are still puppets. Somehow.
100%. They know that. There are African leaders that you can see want to make a change. There are African leaders that have an idea of how it is that they need to approach it. But there are also African leaders that get paid off to perpetuate a specific structure and system. It's not even a secret. You can literally go research. And people always say, Samantha, how do you know so much about politics, etc.?
Funny, I feel like I wanted to ask you that. Are you sure one day we're not going to say Samantha coming up for vote for me for president?
No, definitely not.
Why?
No.
I'm going to start an AfriOne party, and I'm going to make you the female vice president of the party. So hashtag just saying. It's called AfriOne. So AfriOne party doesn't really need you to either be a South African or whatever. You just need to be an African. That's all. Guys, I'm joking because I know you people might joke sometimes. You take it very serious.
You take it seriously.
Because now the next minute, now you'll be like, you see, we said it. This Nigerian man has a plan. He's already not telling Samantha that she's going to be the vice president. Hey, my dear, you never can tell. Anything is possible. What's the problem? As we bring this very particular segment to a close, and you look at our leaders in 1 minute that we have left, what do you want to say to them?
Yeah, that's a question. To the African leaders, I would like to say from myself, and I can only speak for myself.
No, speak from you, please. Don't.
I've
learned to do me.
That you do not undermine the African people as a collective. You do not undermine their intellectual capabilities, and you do not overestimate your power and your position. Because if you continue to overestimate your position, which is a public servant, you are a servant to the people. You are going to take those people and push them against the wall. And when people are pushed against a wall, they will automatically do what?
Anything.
So do not think that you continuously can keep a group of people oppressed and they will not stand up against you. If you want to get into a political sector, you are a public servant. You are a servant to the people. Serve the people. I mean, if you want to loot here and there, do it. But can you at least deliver? Like, it's like we're literally asking you for the bare minimum. Deliver on the promise, you know?
And the first time I'm hearing an advert that even encourage looting. I mean, an advice.
But really, I think that would be my message to them. Do you understand? Do not underestimate the power of the masses.
And they're crying.
And they are crying.
All right, family, because of my time on this very particular segment, we'll pick up these conversations, and I want to ask her why she definitely advised the leader for them to also ask you loot.
Because
we'll be right back just now. You know, family, I'm still laughing because, like I was saying to Samantha here, this is the first time I'm hearing an advice that says loot, but at the same time, get to do the job that you need to do.
And I think a lot of Africans will say that. Do you know what? Because, I mean, can you just get the job done? You know, really just get the job done. Because even if you look at the people always say, yeah, the apartheid government was working, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but they were also looting.
No, they were. If I'm to ask you straight point blank, and welcome to part 3. Apartheid government. Now, I'm not talking about the bad side of the stuff in terms of system, and compared to our system currently as the black government, which one do you think work best for us as Africans in South Africa? Yeah. Because if I use the word Africa, Nigeria did not go through what you people went through. Let me be honest. I think the first time I visited the most of this thing, Apartheid Museum. And this is me advising you people again, please, if you're a foreigner, if you're not from South Africa, because these days, I think TikTok has made me understand something and I was saying to my wife yesterday, I think it was a guest that I posted on stuff, and I discovered that the moment you are black, and this is me bringing it on to us black first, the moment you are black, and you're a foreigner, and you do something wrong, automatically they assign it to be in Nigeria. And funny enough, yesterday, I'll be very honest, it was painful. I discovered that. And I'm like, damn it. So it then makes sense where there's some certain things that even we as Nigerians, we are fighting, and literally this is not our battle. But it's just because when anything bad happened that is from a black foreigner, seen as Nigerians doing this. And I'm saying this that please, for us as Nigerians, wherever you are across this continent, and even our leaders, especially our ambassadors or those who sit as consulate officers, wherever you guys are sitting, we need to come together and begin to find a way of how to solve this very particular narratives, because it's a painful one. And hear me, we are not supposed to expect South Africans to do it for us. Nigeria, hear me, I'm telling you, South Africa will not do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. I think when I saw that yesterday, I promise you, I feel like crying, and I was driving, coming back, and I was telling my wife, I'm like, this is painful. I even posted it on my Facebook, and I put somebody's face who is crying. I'm saying that because for those of you who are foreigners and if you're living in South Africa, please, I want to encourage you. This is not an advertising. They didn't pay me. Because this is, you have to say certain things and you clay it. Visit Southgate. It's called Apartheid Museum. If you see the trouble these people went through, you understand why they behaved the way they behave. Because sometimes for me, and I tell people, I say, this is my own opinion. I said, the reason why you find an average black South Africa fight foreigners in quotes, especially the black one, is because the pain and the wound and of what apartheid has done to them, all of a sudden they got their independence, and the next minute they see this influx of black people coming. So they are still hot. And now, with the remaining crumbs that is on the table, we are seeing this influx coming to want to now compete with this very particular flux. And so you can't blame them if they fight.
I like that you actually said that.
No,
I like that you said that because for once you can hear someone actually sympathizing with the South Africans and understanding that it's not as simple as saying that South Africa gained the democracy and everything was. I like saying kumbaya.
Yeah.
It was not kumbaya.
No, it was not. It was not.
You cannot have South Africa be the most unequal country in the world and assume that those people are not suffering. There's no way.
No, true.
Why is it that people are literally lining up to get 350 rand? 350 rand.
Yeah.
Do you understand? How dire must their situation be in order for them to fight for a 350 rand? Do you understand? So, sorry about that. When you sympathize with the South African cause, and I think we need to, in general, across the African continent, each African state internally have their own struggles.
Yeah.
They've got their own fights.
No, we all do. We all do.
And for the most part, I think many of us want there to be African unity. But we also know that our current situation is so bad that how do I look to feeding my neighbor if my household is starving? Do you understand? So when I remember I got into there was a live and they were speaking about xenophobia, etc. The same way you just said that you very pained when people say Nigerians are just drug dealers, this, and the other. For me, it's the same thing. I'm like, why? How has South Africans suddenly been painted as being xenophobic, right? Because do people ever consider, and we're not condoning any.
Okay.
Because must remember, let's not forget, xenophobia can be traced back across the African continent. Give me a country and I can point it out and I'll even tell you the region to look at. But yet South Africa has been painted at the top. And this is done through mainstream media, which is the same people that will tell you South Africa is xenophobic. It's the most unequal country in the world. It has the highest crime rate in the world. It has the highest unemployment rate in the world. But yet the world are moving into South Africa. How are you moving into the same
system?
South Africa?
Yeah, the system that you condemn, and yet you're still moving into the same system.
You understand?
Yeah.
So they've clearly painted South Africa a specific way. And until you've been into South Africa and you understand the struggles of South Africa, taking into consideration that we are only 30 years old, we have one of the highest unemployment rates in the world.
Yeah, unemployment.
So when they are fighting, like you said, with another African brother, it's not because I'm fighting because I do not want you here. It's because I probably look at you and you are driving a Mercedes-Benz and I go to my house and I don't know what my children are going to eat tonight. Do you understand? So hence I appreciated the fact that you said, can Africans be a bit more sympathetic to all Africans when you go into an African country and understand that, yes, there's external problems, but internal affairs is a major thing.
As much as, yes, I hear the part of I'm sympathizing and stuff, how then do we get to the points where, let's say as a host countries, we become a bit diplomatic and also a bit open to the people understanding that, yes, for example, I'll use South Africa because we're here. I know you will come back again for me. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'll use South Africa because we're here. Saying the system, I understand as a Nigerian that the pie is very small.
Yeah.
My wife works in the system of South Africa. I work in the same system also, and I know too well that the pie is very small to go around the whole blacks in this very particular country. I'm not even talking about the foreigners. But how do we get to the point where we begin to conscientize our minds and say, okay, fine, as much as these guys, they are here, which is us, the foreigners, we also need to be a bit, lack of better word, lenient to them to understand that maybe these guys are mirrors and there's certain things that they know because they are not in the system of apartheid, and so they can see something outside better than we do. 100%. How do we then begin to conscientize our people to get to that point? And I need you as a South African to help me address that very particular narrative. Because if I say it, they'll burn me.
You left Nigeria when?
I've been actively involved in South African system in and out for 15 years thus far.
And you left Nigeria, why?
So I tell people point blank, it's not because I was chased out of Nigeria, number one. Okay, now I'm into ministry and stuff. It's not because I was called into South Africa to come and open the church here or to do this thing. It was just number one, love. I was like Romeo, fighting for Julia, who agreed to die simply because
I am going there, my friend. I'm going to fetch
So
her.
for me, it's that. And secondly, also is the fact that because at that moment, South African system, from what I gathered via the Yahoo, because Google was not in that time, I could see that, okay, the system could be friendly in terms of business.
Right.
I could, mark the word could, when I entered into this thing, I'm back to South Africa we were talking before. When I entered into the country, I now discovered that the business, because I didn't come here to look for a job. God bear me witness. I'm sitting here in front. I did not come to look for a job. I'm not coming here to come and check how many South Africans are beautiful and stuff, because I didn't even know if they were beautiful that time. I just wanted to just relocate because of so-called lady I was dating that time and stuff, and I needed freedom. And secondly, also better opportunity. And I'm like, okay, if I go to South Africa, the ability, because I was doing media, the ability for me to do my media would work well. When I came into the country, it was a total opposite. I'm like, what the hell? You know, in South Africa, I know that you don't pay photographer, use your phone and snap on a wedding. And that. I'm like, what the hell? So it was a huge shift for me. And I had to now begin to ask myself, okay, fine, Darlington, do you want to adjust and fit into the system or you shrink? And so, to cut a long story short, I've been here 15 years, which means I fit in the system to understand, Darlington, what works. And this is me advising foreigners. The system that works in your country, please hear me, it will not work in another country you're going to. When you find yourself in a different country entirely that is not your country, drop your biases that you have in that very particular place, learn their system, and that's how you will go far. 2 years in South Africa, I struggled, but after that 2 years, I begin to tell myself, Darlington, learn this country. To cut a long story short, God has blessed me. I'm fine.
So you in South Africa,
yeah,
and you were successful.
Yeah,
you've done well for yourself,
yes,
right? No one leaves their country to go to another country and not try and be successful. No,
nobody.
There's no one.
Shame. Nah, forget it.
No one, right? So South Africans are still in South Africa. How many South Africans do you think have traveled?
Okay, that I don't know.
Very few, right? Yeah. So for them, but any other South African that you see abroad is doing well. The same as any other foreign national in South Africa is doing well. So the assumption that South Africans are not doing well or trying is not correct. They are just remaining in their country in hope that it will eventually bear fruit.
Okay.
For many, it hasn't, right? And hence, a lot of South Africans are getting tired. South Africa is, I always say, South Africa is a very beautiful country.
No, it is.
South Africa is a country of unity.
Your women are beautiful. I married one. If you want
South
to go
African
and die,
women are very beautiful. A lot of my friends, like when I was abroad, you know, they'll be like, South African women. I'm like, yeah.
Welcome to the club.
All South African, it's a thing, you know.
No, these people are very beautiful. I'm like, shame. That's what I say, I can never pass this, but I would not pass this heritage. I own one. So that's why some people like saying to me that Darlington say you're part of the furniture.
You're here now. You're one of us. It's, you know. So, but the point is that no one goes to another country and not try and become successful. And that is why people go, they go and live in Dubai. Doesn't matter what the circumstances are. They will try and make the best of it.
Okay.
Majority of South Africans have not done that, right? Because they are hoping, because it's a very new democracy.
But the thing there is, how do we play fairness? Okay.
Right? And no, the pie is not small. It's not. Everyone can eat. There's always, people always say, and that's just my belief system. They'll
because
always
you see the way I look at you like, okay, whoa.
No, it's not. You cannot tell me that as Africans, all the Africans that are, and like, let's look at Johannesburg, right?
Okay.
Because in Johannesburg, you can ask me, where do I find Jewish people? And I can point you to a suburb. You can ask me, where can I find Senegalese? And I'll point you to a suburb. Where can I find Nigerians? And I'll point you to a suburb, right? Am I lying?
True.
Which African countries can you do the same with?
Well, in all the African countries, you find Nigeria. I don't know about others.
But all the other countries?
That I don't know, because I've not been there.
If I say to you, in Nigeria, which community is South African?
No, they are there.
Like that you can pinpoint.
Yes.
Like there's many Nigerian communities.
Many South African communities in Nigeria. Yeah, they are there. Literally.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Right? I know that when I did my research around it, there is no stats that shows that there's a big Nigeria community, South African community in Nigeria. Yeah. You can Google it now. How many South Africans are in Nigeria? It will give you no statistics.
You know, the reason why I would say it won't give you statistics is because my country, for instance, and I choose to be corrected, guys, is the fact that we are not as statistics as you guys. You guys are number-based country.
But across the African continent.
No, but we're talking about Nigeria.
No, true. But my point is, I'm trying to...
Remember, the two of us, we are journalists, so we have to find a way of balancing our points. You say Nigeria. I don't know about Ghana. I don't know about Rwanda. So let me stay with the one I know.
True, and the reason, yes. So when you look at, and I was like, how many South Africans are in Cameroon? How many South Africans are in Ethiopia? How many South Africans are in... You
Obviously,
can't get
now
statistics,
I
right?
hear you.
But in South Africa, you can do that.
Don't you
have
think
been
that is
here
because
for
you guys have a
15
system that works compared to many of the African
But then
countries?
how is it at the same time that you guys will then say it's the very same country that's xenophobic when our policies allow for African unity?
No, that I agree. Your policies allow for African unity. Your policy, you see, this concept of xenophobic and stuff, and I'll tell you point blank, it's because of how the average, I'll use the word, the ones who were fighting for the low pies, because of, like I said, when we started this very particular segment, the pie is small. Freedom came in. This load of people comes in. We're trying to understand how did we even get the name South Africa instead of using Azania? Then you people just come in like
South Africa. Like they just left it. They're in the south of Africa. It's working. Keep it.
So for me, it's that. But even with that being said, because of the mandate of AfriOne, and so that's why, for example, I'm trying to avoid, because I know you're a history person. I follow you, your TikTok and stuff and cool. So I'm trying to avoid history.
Right.
We're here now. Whether we like it or not, it may not be in our time, but African unity is going to take place. Yes. Chances are the leaders who are currently, maybe they'll be watching us currently. I'm like, okay, Samantha and Darlington now, they are literally ruffling feathers. Before these people become the legacy holder of this African unity, let's start doing something now so that it doesn't look as if these two, in the way of South Africa, no, I'm not born free. I'm born confused. Yeah, I'm born confused. No, sometimes I classify South African, what's it called, ecosystem in three. I say that the born tight, which is the ones who experience apartheid, that the born confused. If you are less than 40 years, I'm sorry, you're born confused. Then there are born frees, the ones whereby I'm at 20, I'm at 1994, 20s and stuff. So sometimes when I look at it, I place myself as born confused. How is the born confused? The born confused sometimes are the one that is even the problem. Because the born tight understand that, bruh, what you guys are saying, I don't understand. Because all I know is the fact that I scrubbed that very particular floor and yet I was beaten. And like you said, concerning your colored community, I also was raped and all of that. That's what I'm tied to. The born confused is the fact that when they were born, the system, it's not as bad as it is.
Yeah.
And so obviously the system was there, but at least there's now a bit of a loopholes that you can then find to navigate your way. But now there's the born free. And the majority of the problem is literally not the born free. It is not the born tight. It's the born confused. Yeah. Because the born confused is looking at the born free, the millennials, the Gen Zs and stuff. These guys they are collaborating in a strange way. But the born confused, they are still tied to their mothers or to their parent narratives. Now, and they are looking at this born free. They're like, okay, brah, what's wrong with me? Do you understand? So sometimes I place myself, when I look at the South African ecosystem in terms of apartheid and freedom, that I'm born confused. Like, okay, whoa. So I say this because in terms of the AfriOne narratives, where do we get to the point where we become lenient to one another to understand that I recognize your pain, but we still have to move?
True. I don't think that we are not. I don't. Yes, and
welcome to AfriOne show. You bring your own, then you can take me back to history. My own is, let's move.
Yeah. We spoke about, are all Nigerians drug dealers?
No.
Do you understand? So we can't.
South Africans are not xenophobic in nature because I married one. So you see, my own case is even different.
But you see, so that's why. So my point was, the same way not all Nigerians are drug dealers is the same way that not all South Africans are going to respond based on how, I'm going to say, mainstream media have painted South Africa, right? For the most part, South Africans have been, I think, and maybe this is just my experience, accepting of all Africans. However, you have been to Alex.
Yeah.
You have been to certain parts of Soweto.
Yes.
Have you been to Guguletu?
Yes.
Exactly. Do you understand? There is a group of South Africans that are in dire situations. Yeah. So when they respond a specific way, it does not come from hate of you. No. It comes from the fact that I need to make sure that I can survive. So if we are able as Africans in South Africa, find a way to outside of government, because we are all looking to government.
Now you've just hit. I've been looking for this statement from you. So you are hiding it. Can you imagine this lady? You are talking. That's the talk I was waiting for.
My goodness.
So you hide this talk. Don't make me sound like a Nigerian in front of you, even though I'm one. I know you go back and I'm like, yo, the guy did that like that. Welcome to this is the diversity that we need to unify.
Welcome to AfriOne, guys.
Exactly. That's the diversity we need to unify. Now you are outside of government. Continue.
Outside of government. Outside of government, where we can create structures amongst ourselves where we're able to coexist, we are able to start businesses, we are able to maintain our communities, and we are able to attend to the very same criminal acts that they only point to a specific nationality to, because we know it's not only Nigerians.
Yes.
We need to be able to set up those structures because government is not going to do it for us.
Thank you.
It's not going to do it for us.
Why did it take you that long?
I mean,
because you wanted to go into history with me. Do history on your own. I'm not history.
No, really, it's possible.
No, it's possible.
It's definitely possible. And I think it's happening. It does happen in a lot of communities. Do you understand? It happens. You go to any location and you're going to find a Somali shop there.
Are you open to collaboration as an individual? Samantha, are you open to collaborations with other Africans?
Oh, yeah.
In South Africa?
100%.
Are you open to collaboration with other Africans outside of South Africa?
Most definitely.
I say this because I know that very soon my people will be calling you. I know my people.
Do you?
Those ones that have that flag called green, white. Because only two colors we have, green and white. You guys are the one that is rainbow. You guys have
rainbow.
We will just have two colors, green and white and stuff. They will be calling you very soon.
Calling me for collaborations.
Ready. My people don't waste time.
My people, Shame. I am. I think I am for all.
How then do we begin to foster collaborations and in terms of changing the mindset? And please, like I said, from the AfriOne point of view.
Yeah.
I'll need you to talk to the people in terms of collaborations and partnership and begin to change our mindset to understand, like you said, outside of government.
You and I are able to meet today. You are Nigerian and I'm South African. Did we need government to do this?
No.
The same way, if a foreign comes into South Africa and they start a business, they can ensure that they employ South Africans. Yeah. Do you understand? We start small. You look at, if we're saying we're looking for African unity, I'm going to assume that you will also recognize the country's current problem.
True.
So if I'm going to go into the country, how do I ensure that I do not only try and take and gain, I also try and give, right? So that they can see that this African unity is not just an idea. It is something that I'm physically and actively trying to engage in. And if all Africans in South Africa have that mindset where we see ourselves as Africans in South Africa that need to make our current environment work, we can make it work. But the moment we separate each other, you go into a community, I know the community that I'm from, right? I know that the spaza shop around the corner is, I think they do it in general where they call them my friend, right? I think it's Pakistani or something. But
they call him my friend.
They call him my friend, right? And you guys know this. You guys know it. Someone cannot call me out and say, Sam, you know what we refer to them as my friend.
My friend. That was interesting. Samantha said so.
It's true though, right?
Yeah, and my friend my disclaimer
is married to a South African.
Yeah.
You are married to South African, which means you found a structure to work and to coexist in South Africa. So what is stopping you from making South Africa work when you are in South Africa?
I hear you.
Nothing.
But systems also can fight
100%. But outside, remember we are speaking outside of the system.
Yeah.
So if you say to me, Samantha, the South African systems requires the following of me to start a business. I do not have that. How do we collaborate? I'm South African. I can do that.
Okay.
So you and I will then be able to structure a deal accordingly, where we say, okay, assuming the South African government or structures says that you need to have 51% South African, right? The rest can be foreign nationals. Then we do it accordingly. You collaborate with someone in your community. We do not have to separate ourselves. There's no need to do that. Because we exist in the different communities. We are there in the different communities. So to assume that we are different when we are all living in one country, trying to make the same country work, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. Whether, like I remember I saw a video where this lady was like, they hope that South Africans in the next elections will do better, because I don't know which country she's from, in South Africa, it's been very difficult, isn't this? But you can help South Africans. Yes, South Africans can go and vote. But as a foreign national in South Africa, I also want to make South Africa work. I can, however, not vote though. But how do I ensure that to some degree I'm able to contribute? We need to find a way. The same way you and I said, African unity does not have a development plan.
So you're including me, so you and I.
You said it. You said I asked you, where's the development plan?
Politician.
Where's the development plan? I
Which
asked
party
you.
do you support?
I don't. Did I not ask you? Do we have a development plan?
Guys, this lady want to put me in trouble. She's in South Africa, I'm in Nigeria. Can you imagine this lady? I have enough trouble that I'm dealing with. Can Samantha not add another one? All right, I think we'll just go on this one final break and stuff. Then after we come back again, then we'll begin to bring our thought to a close finally on this very particular episode. But I'd like to bring you an interesting guest that I think you embodied what you carry on your TikTok that I see. And then when we come back, obviously you tell us how can people find you and all of that. And so, but one question that I want to leave with you before we go on break is when you look at Africa, what do you see? What are the pain points that keeps you awake? And how do you think, from your standpoint, we can begin to foster solutions to that?
Do you want me to answer that now?
When we're back. I'll be right back just now. See you on the AfriOne show. Please, in case you want to get hold of Samantha, please you can use the email that's available on the screen, or probably you can check her names and her handles, and you can find her on a social media platform. Friendly person, but obviously celebrity.
I am not a celebrity. Why do you keep on saying I'm a celebrity? I am not a celebrity.
I'll be right back just now. All right, let's get to do this again as we begin to bring our thought to a close on this very particular segment on the AfriOne show.
How long have we been talking?
Sir?
How long have we been talking?
Yeah, I think we've been talking now. If I would calculate it, toss far now, it's been 1 hour, 30 minutes.
Interesting.
Toss, is that?
We've been having nice conversations.
Nice conversation. When you have two journalists sitting and talking, or two Pan-Africanists, or two... Or Nigerian South Africa. For those of you who are watching this very particular one and stuff, it looks like AfCon. Who is winning?
How dare you? How dare you?
I have to take in that part. It look like AfCon. Nigeria, South Africa.
Not the final, guys.
No, not. We are talking about Nigeria, South Africa match. Can we do? Is this semi-final? Let's just do semi-final. Let's not do. You see, Samantha is looking for my trouble
bring
now.
The final in.
You see, Samantha is bringing. You are looking for my trouble.
Some pepper on it.
Wow. Ivory Coast, you people. I am coming back for you people for now. I've already said I'm looking for the Ivory Coast ambassador. So I've sent my email out. Ivory Coast ambassador, we need to discuss. And we'll discuss it on the soccer point of view. What went wrong? The agreement we agreed behind the scene and what you guys did in public, it didn't happen. So you need to explain. Yeah, before we went on break, we're talking about your ideology as to when you wake up and you look at Africa. Because obviously for you to do what you were doing and for you to carry what you carry is because there's something that keeps you awake every time. You once asked me when we were talking on the phone concerning AfriOne show, and I said for me, the biggest thing is the fact that I want to get to the point when our borders are controlled, but at the same time we have free movement of person and people across Africa. I'm not saying that borders should not be controlled, obviously. Somebody cannot come from the next flat and come to my house and come and do nonsense like calm down. But at least I should be free.
Yes.
In terms of doing anything that I want to do in that place, but not think that it's going to be evil. So that's where for us as AfriOne show, we come into the place of innovations, unity, and elevation. And that's what I embodied every time I go. When we look at Samantha and what narratives we push out there, and you look at Africa, what keeps you awake? What's the pain point? And how do we begin to foster solutions to that? The mic is yours.
There's a lot of things that keeps me awake about Africa.
Okay, I'm listening.
At the moment, Congo keeps me awake. A lot.
Okay. Congo and Rwanda battle. Yeah. I think they say Congo and Rwanda.
Goma specifically, and what is happening in Goma.
Okay.
We cannot, as Africans, speak about African unity and then look at the people in Congo and not find a solution to them. Makes no sense to me.
I appreciate South Africa for something that they send their troop. I was waiting, I'll be very honest.
Yes.
I was waiting, I'm like, because I saw your page, I'm like, hey, this lady is in free Palestine. We have Congo here.
No, I spoke about Congo.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. When I saw it later, I'm like, she has just built herself. Otherwise, I'm like, this woman is a sellout. I don't care.
Do you know why? So I am a very driven person. Okay. I need to find a solution to a problem. And my family always tells me, Sam, you can't save the world.
True.
You know? But I can try, even if it's with one person.
Yeah.
And when I looked at the Congo, I remember I called one of my friends, and I think he's Rwandese.
Okay.
He's also a content creator. And I asked him, what can we do? Right? Because hashtag Free Congo is not the solution.
No, it's not the solution.
I love how people are saying hashtag Free Congo, do not buy an iPhone, wara. It sounds nice, but that's not the solution. I used to think it was the solution. Until I spoke to someone that knew Goma, that knows what Goma looks like, that has family members in Goma. And he said, Samantha, the people in Goma do not even know that you guys are protesting. They don't know.
It's that bad.
It's that bad. They don't know that there's a hashtag free Goma. They're not able to document the same way the Palestinians have been able to document themselves, right? And he said, when I visit my aunt, I know that when she offers me a cup of tea, when she gets the sugar, she's going to go through the back door and buy 1 teaspoon of sugar. That's how bad it is in Goma, right? So Africa has a lot of potential. We know that. Africa has been identified as the future, right? We have a very young community of Africans, right? We need to be able to find a way where, as Africans, Goma cannot be a problem. We cannot continuously say, okay, hashtag this, yes, African unity, but then we look at the Congo and you look at Sudan and you look at Ethiopia and you look at Uganda, but we can't find solutions. So are these solutions only applicable when it applies to me directly? Is this African unity only applicable when it's how it affects me? When it's comfortable? Yeah. That can't be African unity.
I hear you.
So that is when I see Africa, I see potential. And that's why when we spoke about, when I said a lot is happening and they didn't see it coming. Part of it, social media, they didn't see social media coming. They did not see that the same African that they dealt with in 1950 is not the same African they're going to deal with in 2024, right?
True.
So those Africans have a different approach to life, but it's not all of us. Not all of them is a Darlington or Samantha, right?
True.
So how do we empower all Africans to ensure that in 10, 15, 20, even 30 years, there is a structure that allows that when we do not exist anymore, Africans are not looked upon as subhuman anymore.
True.
Africans do not see themselves as having to compete to a specific standard of beauty to an extent where they need to bleach their skin.
It's a deep one.
So a lot needs to change. A lot of unlearning. But African unity sounds very comfortable and very convenient.
With the leaders that are on ground now, do you think that they can foster African unity?
The current leaders?
Yes. That very particular
No disrespect to the current leaders. Please ignore my laugh. Not all of them.
This lady is a politician. I ask you, what party do you belong to? Do you want to answer?
I actually don't have a political party.
But you're voting this year?
Of course I'm voting.
Thank you. That's all I just need to vote. Can I be biased?
Yeah.
Please. And as you are voting, sometimes I hear people say they want to vote because of me. You know, I'm here now. And I'm your in-law.
Yes.
So I'm bribing you. So you see, when Nigeria starts from story, you know that he wants to go somewhere. And I'm your in-law.
The paycheck is coming,
exactly.
Guys.
And I'm your in-law.
Yes.
So please don't vote these two. These two parties. Do not. I beg you. It's a beg.
What colors are they?
Colors? They are even black parties. One of them is called Action SA.
Oh, yeah.
Then the other one is called DA.
Definitely not.
So you're not voting that too.
110% not.
You're coming for season 2 of my show now. You see, season 2, you're coming. With that being said, family, that's how I like. Me, I know how to bribe people nicely. These are the bribe I do that you people think that I pay them money.
Can I just say something, please? To the youth of South Africa, please go and vote. Please go and vote. I know that you guys have heard this multiple times. 2024's elections is your 1994 elections. That's the reality of it. And you cannot look at your parents that liberated you and bought you the freedom that you now have to walk on the pavement without a dompas and think it's not your responsibility to allow for a future where Africans in South Africa are seen as equal, where equity is not a conversation, where you do not have to look at NFS, where you do not have to pay black tax. You need to go and vote. You need to go and vote, and you need to go and vote for change. And I'm going to say emphasis on change. There needs to be a complete restructure of our current government. So when you look at what it is that you want to vote for, ask yourself, what South Africa do you see in the next 20, 30, 40 years? And which political party is promising you a future that looks like that future? Please go and register to vote. I had to say that.
And with that being said, I just use my platform to do election vote. South African government, you owe me money. You owe me my sponsorship. Because these days, these South African people just come here, use my platform, advertise their stuff. Say, my invoice is coming. I'm a black Jew from West Africa, Nigeria to be precise. You owe me money because I don't know who asked her to use it. It's Electoral Commission. If you guys have paid her, she hasn't paid me nothing yet.
They have not. You guys owe me money for the amount of people I've asked to vote.
Exactly. Electoral Commission. Is it Electoral Commission or INEC? What's the name of the party?
Electoral Commission, yes. The IEC.
IEC, you owe me money. Me, I'm a black man. I don't have ID to go and get loan and stuff. But see this advert. That's a matter just finished now. It's my money.
It's not even in the head, guys.
How can people find you as we begin to bring the thought to a close?
You can find me on TikTok under Samantha Jansen.
Okay.
Jansen spelled Jansen. That's not how you spell it, but the other one was taken. I don't know who she is, You can find me on Samantha Jansen on Instagram. And yeah, soon I'll be dropping a podcast.
Yeah, she has to, because we were talking about a podcast, and so I'm looking forward. And I'm saying this on air. Talk to me if there's something that we need to do together.
100%.
To make sure that your podcast is a reality.
Can you see we're making that African unity work already?
I'm for Africa. I'm literally.
Yes.
I know a lot of. I don't want to mention them, but a lot of guys who I also assisted in terms of the podcasting and stuff. It's ready to come in, and I tell them, guys, relax. This thing is simple. Big. You don't need train match now. You don't need to go and break a bank to want to do this. Like, guys, this is very simple. Forget what these people are saying on YouTube and all this. This is very simple. Relax and stuff. So when that time comes and you need me and stuff, please just reach out. Definitely. I believe in you. I believe in narratives in which you represent. And thank you very much for coming. I know that, yes, sometimes you may get tired and get bored in terms of doing what you want to do, but please, we need your voice. From us as the diaspora community, I choose to represent my diaspora family. I want to say thank you. Thank you for embodying what you embody. Thank you for fostering collaborations and opening the eyes of all of us who are in South Africa. Obviously, I'm not going to talk outside of where I don't know. But I want to say to you, I see you. I appreciate you. I know that now it may look as if you are not making a lot of impact the way you want to make it, but hear me. If I can find you, it means you are making an impact.
Thank you.
And I don't want you to think that the kind of tractions you want to pull off, you're not pulling it. You are pulling it. People are talking. I've seen some of my friends who are saying that this Samantha lady, who is she? And I'm like, she's South Africa. To make matters worse, she's colored. In terms of the segregation that they do. Because she has educated us just now. So I have to follow that education so that she doesn't think I'm not learning. She's my in-law. So those are the things that I say. But hear me, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. For you to embrace what you embrace is not easy. Somehow, sometimes you may be walking around the street, you never can tell who is literally looking at you, but yet you still walk tall. Please keep walking tall. Africa need your voice. We need you. And I'm looking forward one day, this is my hope and prayer for you, that one day I'll be sitting probably looking at ENCA or ANN7. Is ANN7? No, Newsroom Africa. Or probably CNN and BBC. And I see you stand on that very particular platform, fighting for your continent. That's my hope and desire for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And I appreciate you.
You want to make me emotional, didn't you? You got me very emotional there. Thank you.
This part you didn't see it coming.
I did not. That's the part I didn't see coming.
No, but I really appreciate you. So how was the show thus far for you?
It was fun.
You enjoyed it?
It was a nice conversation. And I think you and I were able to encompass what exactly we wanted to speak about, which is African unity.
Yeah.
Which means it is possible. We are doing it, Yes, it takes time and it's going to be a gradual thing, but
100%.
For the most part, majority of us are doing it slowly.
Have you been to Nigeria?
I have actually.
Which place?
I've been there once.
Which place?
I was in Lagos.
Okay.
And then I was in, is it Calabar?
Oh, Calabar. Okay, yeah. Cross River.
Yeah. So there was a show I did a few years ago. I did Big Brother. And then...
You did Big Brother?
I did.
So you're in Big Brother Nigeria?
I was in Big Brother Africa.
Oh, Big Brother Africa. Okay, yeah.
Yes. And...
So I'm just with this. You say you're not a celebrity.
I'm not a celebrity, guys.
I was a Big Brother house. So you're a Big Brother housemate?
I was.
With which guys?
With Tayo.
Tayo?
With Lillian.
What the hell? Yes. Mama, I've made it.
That's how I ended up in Nigeria.
I've made it. At least for me to see the Big Brother housemate. And I didn't even bother.
I did.
Case closed. But I really appreciate and stuff. So which other African country you want to get into this year?
All African countries.
All.
If you guys can invite me, I actually So, I'm launching an academy.
Okay.
The African Academy of African Minds.
African Academy of African Minds.
Yes, it's called the African Academy of African Minds.
Call me, I'll be your PA.
Hey?
So I'll do the booking for you. The PA, I'll be your PA.
Will you?
Yes.
If you can do that, so that's what I would launching that.
Okay.
But at the same time, I would like to go into African countries and show Africa from the people's point of view. Not from the political standpoint, from the people.
Now I like you the more. People's point of view.
Yes.
With that being said, family, we've come to the end of this very particular conversations. And please, I want to encourage you, please follow Samantha. She has a very strong narrative that she's saying out there. My Nigerian community, I know she will like good things. That's all I can say. Funny enough, let me even clear that part. Because they will call me now and start asking me, SMD, which one are you? SMD, pick a number. It's called a game. It's my show. You do your own with me. For now, it's my show. SMD, pick a letter.
I must pick a letter.
Yeah.
S.
Yeah, S. Single, married, divorce.
Oh, is that what it means? No, I'm not single.
Actually, just quickly. But you just said S.
Because my name starts with an S.
Oh, so I see where you went to. So she said she's single because she picked S. I am not
single.
So that's the thing then. So which one are you?
I am M.
You are M, okay. So Nigeria, market don't close. That's all I can say. Don't worry, you don't understand what I said in Nigeria. Because I know my Nigerian community. Market don't close. So there's no market don't close. Nothing for happen for that side. But if you invite and come, she can just come do business that side. She says she don't come to Lagos and she don't enter Calabar before. So we're gonna just try bring her. Maybe she enter Abuja, Port Harcourt, and probably maybe she just visit like Kano State. We could just see what in the northern part look like. And that's the thing I'll say. But with that being said, it's a wrap on the AfriOne show. I remain your Afropolitan apostle, known as Darlington Steve. Funny enough, she was shocked when she found out that I was a pastor.
Yes, guys.
She's like, no, I'm going to see Darlington.
The guy is like, you're going to pastor? I'm like, pastor.
She's like, no, Darlington.
Darlington, it is no pastor. I was like, okay.
But that's how we run this. And that's what you people like about this your Afropolitan apostle, where we talk all things Africa, all things unity, all things innovation, and all things elevating one another. I'll see you on the subsequent episode. Bye for now, and God bless you.